The idea of an ultimate Alien X seems impossible. With all of his power and everything he can do, how do you take it even further? On this channel, we have an ongoing segment of Ash's drawing matrix called Ultimates Overhauled, where a new batch of ultimate aliens are created every so often. While Ash has no interest in creating an ultimate Alien X, I decided,
fine, I'll do it myself.
Although this task was a bigger challenge than you'd think. We've done dozens of videos on Alien X over the years covering everything about him in great detail, from his powers, appearances, homeworld, and limitations. But even if you haven't seen those, you're probably aware at least a little by now of Alien X's insane reality-bending multiversal abilities. And with the Ultimatrix, which evolves each transformation by a million years of intense combat training, how does one take evidently infinite power a step further? Get ready, because things are going to get complicated and slightly philosophical. Calling this complicated is the only way to phrase this subject. Some might say that the idea of an ultimate Alien X is a flawed proposal to begin with, and in parts, I agree with that. The challenge of an ultimate Alien X can be divided into three reasons. A. He's already impressively powerful, and with endless ways to diversify his capabilities, on top of the baffling scale in which he can do such things. Where do you even go from there? B. Ben's personal perception and characteristics would be undoubtedly affected by evolving to such a high consciousness state, and it creates an ethical query on why someone would even use this transformation in the first place. And C. Due to these dead ends, can this topic even go anywhere beyond broad strokes? Nonetheless, I still have my own speculations and theories on how this transformation could work. It may get a bit intensive, but the more I think about this concept, the more my mind wanders towards these facets and repercussions. And while I find the topic both fascinating and frustrating, I'll let you draw your own conclusions on whether or not this transformation is morally and efficiently effective. Let's begin. Part 1. Appearance. There's been many different ideas from fans over the years, but to me, only one makes sense. If Alien X has the power to control the universe and higher, the only way to be stronger is to become one with the universe. Similar to many concepts of higher powers in various religions, Ultimate Alien X will no longer have a physical form, but instead become an intangible presence throughout the multiverse, as if he was a universe himself. His presence is everywhere, literally, but in a metaphysical state. The air you breathe, the stars in the sky, that's all Ben. He could perhaps create a physical avatar to interact with people and environments physically if he wanted to, but with godlike power, I don't see a benefit in that. Something like that would just be for show, or to make his surrounding friends, family, and comrades have an easier time communicating with him. I realize that this is similar to post-crisis Darkseid from DC, but while this idea is not inspired by him, I'll at least acknowledge the connection for those that saw the same conclusion. I can't imagine his physical avatar would need to look like anything specific, as unlike Ben's other transformations, the avatar of Ultimate Alien X is created by Ben, and can technically look like anything if he wants it to. But it's fun to imagine the infinite possibilities of what he could look like. But looks are just the tip of the iceberg. Part 2. Omniscience. It goes without saying that Ultimate Alien X will retain his reality-altering abilities, which are already incomprehensibly powerful in his base form alone, manipulating time, creating universes, even altering the fourth wall of the show. It's hard to perceive how to make something like that even more powerful, so I decided to focus on how this affects Ben inside of Alien X instead. To continue, while Alien X is already omniscient, which is possessing absolute and infinite knowledge, it's only by selective choice. Ben as base form Alien X has been shown to have the capability to know everything if he wanted to, but he needs to make the decision to discover that information every time. Think of a security guard watching a display of dozens of monitors. The guard has the capability to see everywhere throughout the building, but he can only look at a handful of monitors at a time. To evolve this, Ultimate Alien X would always be aware of everything all of the time. Since he is the universe, Ultimate Alien X can perceive what's happening with every person or alien inside of that dimension simultaneously. Infinite hearing, sight, and comprehensiveness. Or, back to my previous example, instead of having to choose which monitors to look at, all of that information will be automatically downloaded into his mind, as if he's already studied everything there is to know. And since base form Alien X is already beyond time, then in this scenario, the hypothetical guard would be able to know what's going to happen in the future of that footage as well. If there were hidden cameras placed absolutely everywhere in the universe from the dawn of time till the death of the universe, Ultimate Alien X's perception would be as if he's seen each and every recording all the way through and memorized it, or in layman's terms, true omniscience. That is one part that would be hard for mortals such as ourselves to be able to relate to. Hearing and understanding trillions of beings all at once without being overwhelmed or confused. From there, Ben can access the status of the nature of the universe as a whole, and can pick and choose how he wants to alter the course of the universe and make multiple changes at the same time. He doesn't have to focus on only one section of the universe anymore, like he did with base form Alien X, because now he is everything. Part 3. Intelligence. Ben's essence would spread out endlessly through his universe, and be able to maintain time and space much easier. Bellicus and Serena would still technically be there too, but Ben and them would have merged into one, practically creating a new being entirely. This merged personality also helps with comprehending trillions of beings at once, because Ben will now have multidimensional comprehensiveness and intelligence. But as this would technically create a new being, that leads to his drawback. As Ultimate Alien X, Ben would lose a lot of his humanity. I don't mean that Ben can no longer transform back to human, he can technically do that at any point he wants to, but that he'd no longer simply be just Ben. With his heightened awareness, abilities, and boosted comprehensiveness, it would be hard to hold on to his mortal thoughts and personality. He would perceive so much in such a large, complex perspective, he wouldn't feel like himself anymore. He couldn't think as a mortal anymore. He's the entire universe. There's so much going on, so many things to perceive, that everything that makes him Ben would be lost in the vast ocean of reality. He can change back, but he may never want to. He doesn't just see the bigger picture. He is the bigger picture. And once you have that awareness, he may just become an emotionless cosmic deity that operates in ways we can't comprehend. Everything that makes us who we are is based on nature and nurture. Where did we grow up? How were we raised? Who is part of our family? What friends have we made along the way? What hardships have pulled us down? And what inspired us to overcome them? Ben's now perceiving infinite variations of the human experience through each and every person in the universe. How can you become an individual when you're simulating every possible way you can shape a human being all at once? In a way, this could be a good thing. No individuality means no bias, no fear, no selective morals. Part 5. Practicality. We will never see the world the way Ultimate Alien X does, so who can truly see the ethical decisions behind what Ben does and doesn't do in that state? What's harmful to one planet may be beneficial to another, and only Ben can see that. It's dangerous to be all-knowing, and frustrating to those who aren't. Being Ultimate Alien X may turn the universe against Ben, because each planet can only perceive how it affects them personally, and not the massive machine's inner workings of the universe. If Ben has the power to change reality every which way he wants, then technically, no evil should exist, right? Each time Ben seems to have the chance to change things to his liking, he's turned it down, such as in Ultimate Alien's finale, when he nearly listened to Vilgax to use Ascalon and, quote, wipe out evil, but decided that free will is more important. Or even when Ben remade the universe, he kept everything practically the same, bad guys and all. But with Ultimate Alien X, which simulates so many simultaneous perspectives that it deludes Ben's own personality, what moral limitations would he have then? And in turn, what actions does he choose not to perform that the mortals down below would disagree with? Why doesn't Ben revive Cannabolt's home planet? Why doesn't he bring any of his fallen friends back to life? Why does he allow tyrants, dictators, to exist? You can never truly say what is right and wrong for Ultimate Alien X to do when your perspective is limited to the scale that you're on. Once you become God, It's easy to suddenly make everything wrong in the world your fault. Because if you have the power to change it, and you don't, doesn't that make you just as guilty and compliant? Obviously, that isn't the case, as things are more complicated than that. What may seem like a good idea for one galaxy could be devastating to another. And also, the natural progression of the timeline is important to keep intact, which has been highlighted throughout the Prime series. And as Ben and base form Alien X still has his own empathy to realize the importance of free will, with Ultimate Alien X, how would a god without bias run the universe? I'd imagine that a being like that wouldn't directly interact with anything. No splitting the skies, wiping out planets, bringing things back from the dead, or any of that, even though he easily could. When you have the ultimate perception of the universe and everyone in it, and the power to do anything you want, perhaps it's best to let nature take its course, and alter things in subtle, passive ways, trickling down dominoes that lead to the intended effects without skipping to the end result, setting up opportunities for things to go the right way without solving the problems directly, giving folks the chance to change their own destiny. He may need to fight larger, multiversal threats that the majority of the universe's population will never be aware of. I hope this gives you a taste of what I believe an Ultimate Alien X would be like. It may feel a bit vague, but trying to come up with something even greater than Alien X is already a challenge. Maybe we'll never really know what an Ultimate Alien X would be like, but it's fun to think about, isn't it? It's also worth noting that all of this is hypothetical and strictly my interpretation of how this character would work. But if you have your own ideas, I'd love to hear them down below. Thanks to everyone who contributed some fan art for me to use earlier. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And as always, keep it fizzy.
You keep it natural, stay in your bag like you wearing satchels. Hey, baby, you a godsend, just missing the sandals. But still, you ain't missing much. Put your hands on my back, that's a different touch. Put your ass on my plate, I don't skip the lunch. I don't skip the brunch, not the dinner neither. And we hella close, not a centimeter. Getting in between is all you two turned up. Never turned down though, when it's big energy, when I come around.